Hello, welcome. My name is Mark Coleman. I'm founder of Awake in the Wild, and I'll be one of the teachers for the upcoming Awake in the Wild teacher training. And so this video is really just an orientation to give you a sense of the overview of the training, of the various things that make up that training, and what you may learn. So I've been teaching meditation for the last almost 3 decades now. Trained in the Buddhist tradition, a teacher at Spirit Rock, and been teaching nature-based retreats for more than 20 years, integrating silence and wilderness, and mindfulness, community. And it's really out of those trainings and those retreats that I came to realize that both the power and the depth and the importance of this work, and also the need to train people to share this practice of being out in nature with awareness, with reverence, with a contemplative presence, and to allow this beautiful way of being in nature with mindfulness and with an intimate connection with the natural world to really disseminate. So I've taught about 7 year-long Awake in the Wild teacher trainings thus far. Very beautiful, mostly in the US, one in Europe. And I'm very delighted to be teaching it with Laurie Schwanbeck, who is also a nature meditator. She's a psychotherapist and longtime teacher of sensory awareness and nature-based work, and amongst many other things. So this upcoming training will start in the fall of 2026. And the main structure for the training is 4 retreats that are held over the year. The first retreat will be in October, and that retreat will take place in a coastal location near Point Reyes, where we have a beautiful view of the bay and rolling hillsides. And that retreat, the first meeting, is one way to get to know each other, but also it's a deep immersion in Awake in the Wild practice and experience. So there'll be many days on that retreat that are in silence, where we're all collectively deepening our practice, our attunement and intimacy with nature through mindfulness. And then at the end of that retreat, we'll be doing some debrief about what I was teaching and how we were teaching and why, and how these practices we're sharing in that retreat will be both used in our training, but also in your own teaching and training post-graduation. The second, third, and fourth retreats all follow a similar format. The second retreat will be in a beautiful desert location in Baja, southern Baja. But we're in the mountains, so it's very lush desert, streams, beautiful wildlife, quite green for the desert. And that second retreat, we'll be exploring the foundations of mindfulness practice in nature. So we'll be covering things like mindful breathing, mindful sitting, mindfulness of body, mindful walking and standing and lying down. All practices that might be quite familiar to you, but doing those in nature are very different. Lying on the earth, for example, is very different than lying in a building. Breathing with nature as you're breathing with awareness of the forest, very different than breathing, in your office or in your living room. And so that retreat, we're exploring the foundations of mindfulness, how they're experienced in nature. And beginning from that second retreat, we'll dive into practice teaching. And so how the format for the retreats go is that myself or Laurie will introduce a theme like interconnection. We'll introduce a practice like breathing with nature, guide a practice. And then after some discussion, you'll be invited into groups of 3 to practice teaching your triad. And that flow of the day is repeated for much of the rest of the training, both that retreat and also the third and the fourth retreat. And one of the beauties of that is you get to do a lot of practicing teaching of meditation. This is a very hands-on, very experiential kind of learning. And you will learn by teaching, you will learn by being taught by others, and you will learn as much from each other as you do from myself and Laurie. And of course, the other sort of main teacher on this training, of course, is the natural world. The third retreat, we will be exploring sensory awareness practices in nature and also heart practices in nature. So exploring listening meditation, seeing practice, exploring the role of love and connection and gratitude. And again, similar format of us introducing the theme of practice, guiding a practice, and get to practice guiding that in dyads or triads. So lots of rich teaching there. And then the fourth retreat, we'll be exploring some of the wisdom dimensions of this practice, the insights that come from nature, from learning about impermanence, interconnection, elements practice. And so again, lots of you learning these practices, practice teaching them. And then woven throughout those retreats is also many other dimensions to teaching about what it means to teach out in nature, some of the practical logistical things, group dynamics, and how to give talks and how to manage questions and how to deal with difficulties and projection, all the things that come from running groups. So lots of rich teaching about that. And then, so that's the sort of the main structure of the training is these 4 retreats. The first retreat being is a deep dive practice retreat, and then this second, third, and fourth retreat being much more you practice teaching, learning to teach. I should say that the third retreat will happen in a beautiful woodland in the foothills of the Sierras. We get to practice in these wonderful meadows underneath these gorgeous valley oaks, other trees, be by the stream. And then the fourth retreat will be deep in the forest up in northern New Mexico, about 9,000 feet along a beautiful river, and in wonderful ponderosa groves high there in northern New Mexico. So that's the bulk of the training is on those 4-week-long retreats. But there are other aspects to the program. We'll meet monthly for more teaching tutorials, and also always a way for us to check in with you and you to check in with us and ask questions about your practice. You'll be assigned book readings, a couple of books in between each retreat on the theme of nature, meditation, practice, etc. You'll also be assigned a pod, which would be a group, ideally geographically based, so you'll be sometimes able to meet with people in your local pod. And again, the idea is to meet once or twice a month to both check in about your meditation, about your practice, about the readings, but also to provide a place for you to practice teaching each other. And so at least 2 of you will get the chance to practice teach at least every 2 weeks. So you'll get to teach at least monthly. So the idea is to really steep both in the practices and in your teaching of it. You'll be assigned a mentor, and the mentor is someone who is a previous graduate who will be tracking you a little bit, and you'll be uploading your assignments to them. The first assignment is an essay about your relationship to nature practice. The second assignment after the second retreat will be you submitting a video teaching meditation. And then after the third retreat, you'll be submitting some materials from your practicum, teaching a day-long or 2 half-day-longs in nature. So I realize this is a lot of information. Feel free to listen to this recording again. I will be offering some webinars in the new year that go into this material and also give you a chance to ask questions. And at the end of you completing the retreats, the practice, daily practice and the assignments, graduate, and then you get to join a wonderful Awake in the Wild teacher community. There's now over 100 graduates from these teacher trainings, both in North America, in Canada, in Europe. And it's a very lively community. We have alumni webinars, we have alumni retreats. There's been postgraduate training retreats. I developed a 6-week protocol, which you are welcome to train in once you've graduated. There's also opportunities to teach through awakenthewild.com website. We have multiple different avenues of that. We have daily sit, we have Sunday sit, we have half days and whatnot. So anyhow, that's kind of an overview of the training. And if that interests you, if you have a passion for nature and sharing these practices, then please apply. We asked, ideally, people have sat for at least 3 years and done one residential retreat, mindfulness retreat, silent nature retreat, or similar. And if you don't meet those criteria, please apply anyway, and we can discuss with you how we can find ways to get you up to speed. So Laura and I are very excited to be guiding this training again, and look forward to receiving your application. So thank you for your attention. Take care. Bye-bye.